Alright, so in this episode of the OBL tutorial, we're going to be covering the rest of the arrow cases. Arrow being one corner and one edge and separated. And lucky for us, this is a pretty short episode because the only two cases that can come with an arrow is a bar, which I've already covered in the previous episode, and another arrow. So this entire episode is just going to be cases with two arrows, so arrow, arrow. Now there are two types of arrows. There's right arrow, which I'm calling this, because when you put the edge on bottom, the corner is in the top right. And then there is left arrow, because when you put the edge in bottom, like this, then the corner is in the top left, so this is left arrow. So first we're going to cover the similar cases, as in right arrow, or left arrow, left arrow. So starting with right arrow, which is good arrow, arrow. So as a rule, the arrows are really nice because they basically all start from the same angle. And that angle is you put the corner in the top right. So for every single arrow case you get, I automatically put the corner in the top right like this, and then I identify it. So once I put the corners in the top right, I see that the edges are both on bottom, which means that these are both right arrows. And when you have right arrow, there's two ways to do this, and they're both really good 3-slicers. So you can slash and do an E, which is 3, -3 slash, and then do a small move in the opposite direction of that, like this. Or you can do an E prime, which I usually do, which is -3, 3, and then do a small move in the opposite direction. So once again, that just looks like this, or this. So now that we got right arrow out of the way, we're going to move on to left arrow. So sure, you could just mirror this and solve it like this, and then like do that basically. But like I said, for all arrows, I start with the corner in top right. So now, when we put the corners in the top right, you can see that our edges are not on the bottom. Instead, they're on the left, and that means we have a left arrow. So since they're both on the left here, then we have left arrow. So what we do when we have left arrow, we slice, and we do a big T, and then a big F prime. So slice, 4, -2, slice, -4, -1. And of course, if you had the white-black mirror, I'm not going to show this for all cases because it should be really pretty simple. You would just do big T and then 2, 5, like that. Alright, now we've covered both good arrows. Those are both 3-slicers, and those are half of the arrow cases. Now we're going to talk about the other two arrows, which are left or right left. So let's start with right left arrow. So as you can see, I have arrow, so I put the corners in the top right, and then I look at where the edges are. Since this edge is on the bottom, this is right arrow. Since this edge is on the left, it's left arrow. So keeping it in this position, I just slice. And now the first move when you have bad arrow is to move this edge that's not on the bottom, like this on the bottom, this on the left. You're going to move this edge, this edge to the bottom. So since on the left, we're going to need to do a D prime to put it on the bottom. So after we do our slice, we're going to do a D prime, like that. And then we're going to do a small move in the same direction as that D prime. So the D prime went this way, so we're going to do a small move this way, like that. And then we're just going to finish off with a D. So once again, we slice, do a D prime to put this left edge to the bottom, D prime, and then small move in the same direction, and then a D, which is like, I guess, a 90-degree move in the opposite direction as a small move. And finally, we have left arrow, right arrow. So once we put the corners in the top right, this edge is on the left, this edge is on the bottom, so we have left, right arrow. And it's a bad arrow, so the first step to solving bad arrow arrow is to put this on the bottom after you slice. So we're going to slice, I'm going to put this edge on the bottom like that. And I don't mean like on the bottom layer, I mean like on the bottom right here on this side. So slice, U prime slice, and then again a small move in the same direction, which happens to be a U prime, a small U prime here. And then we're going to do a 90-degree move in the opposite direction as that. Alright, so those are all the arrow cases. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.